that's the way.
I always remember how long you guys have been married, because you've been married as you got married right before Leah was born.
Yeah, that's true. We were, absolutely.
So it's 15 years.
Yeah. So anyway, where are you, Susan? You want to
I asked for.
I have
first, you have to say something about a hat rack. You got to say it.
My principal always was with Ben. I used to drive him to school, to university school, a little school, undergraduate, the baby school, what is it, what do you call it, 1st to 6th grade?
The lower school.
And I don't know how this came, because I used to tell them stories about Timmy the Tag.
Yeah, Timmy the Tag.
And I told them that, but anyway. By the way, it was easier in a way to deal with a Benjamin in my age and his age, because I was 38 years older than he was, having gone through the experience of 3 other children, and having some economic security I didn't have before at all. I didn't have a paycheck, and I was doing all right. So it was easier emotionally, as you all know, when you have a child, you're older. So I was less.
I think you're trying to say
frantic.
you're more relaxed.
I was going to say I was more laid back and I had a good time. Anyway, every morning when I let him off at school, I'd say, Ben, use your head for something other than a hat rack. And apparently, like Thomas Jefferson's words of wisdom, Ben has passed that around to his children, and Sarah and Alyssa say those words, or he says that to them.
What other piece of advice do you have
I
for
didn't
us?
live by a code per se, except a code of honesty, and I want to go back, not see my mother for stealing. Never mind. I'm trying to be humorous. I certainly believed in honor. I wanted my children to be healthy, happy. One thing about Susan specifically I'd like the record to show is, as in my eyes as a father, Susan appeared to me to be a physical person. She loved sports, and I didn't see her as an intellectual per se.
As a jock.
As a jock. And I remember talking to Bob Story in the office, and I was praising my daughter Susan, and he said, Marvin, there's nothing more important, and it was great words, of how Susan is as a human being, because he knew Susan a little bit, and I was proud of her, but of her wonderful temperament and her achievements and her physical things that she did. And here it turns out she's a highly intelligent kid, can't spell, but that's nothing else. And I'm so proud of this child and all of my children. And you, Henry, I'm looking at you. Never did we dream when you were a little boy, little baby, going through the struggles of learning how to speak, how to hear, and having Ruth Bender, Ruth Bender.
Man, Ruth, I'm impressed.
Ruth Bender. Ruth knows things about me
She
that I
does.
don't remember.
She knows deep things
Dr.
about
Ruth
you.
Bender,
It's very good.
heroin. I represented her in a tax case, by the way. She went to Europe to write up a tax paper, and the Internal Revenue Service, she went there for the fun of it. Well, she did for that, too. And I got her off some of the taxes, but not enough. She's getting paid nothing, peanuts from Case Western Reserve, and I wanted to be a big hero with her. But Henry has achieved so much in all ways. And every day, no matter what he went through as a child, as my son, up until the point he did his own thing, he'd wake up in the morning, life's good, was full of enthusiasm, no matter what a beating he took the night before. That is a very wonderful way to live. I don't know you can always do it, son, but I would pass what you said on, what you did on. And of all my children, I'm proud. Beth accomplished her thing. She has her own what do we call, what we Jews call it, little mishigas. And she's a lovely child. And Benjamin's been a terrific son. I don't know, I did it day by day. I think as far as myself is concerned, with whatever I face, welfare, blah, 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 the Army, I don't know about them, but, and Ruth knows this in my present life, basically, I'm an optimist inside. So I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling good as long as my health is decent. Maybe sometimes Ruth says I feel too good because I wake up, wow, I'm having a good time. And having not fun, but feeling rich towards life, no matter what direction it takes, getting all you can out of it. As I get older, I realize it even more, that each moment has its own precious nature. And when you look back and you say how fast it goes, and that all of you have lived long enough to know from your own childhood on how fast things go. Here's Leah going to be in a play, and I realize Leah's a baby. Here's Jaron, who's dating a girl. My little boy, my little boy jumping in my arms. Here's blue-eyed little Joe, and we all see that, and Alyssa and Sarah and our own wives, and I see it with my children, and I see it with Ruth's children. Each moment has a precious element, and if you can hang on to it in the sense of giving to it its meaning, that's a rich way to go. And you can't be a happy-go-lucky nothing. The world's a pretty serious place. But if you keep that in perspective and realize, hey, we're each of us important to ourselves, to our family, and enrich ourselves with these wonderful thoughts and ideas. And we all know, our family knows, it's far more important than the bullion. Money truly can't buy you things, real happiness. So that, I guess that was the spirit of things. I've lived that way. Money has never, unfortunately, maybe meant that much to me. It didn't to Laurie. It doesn't to Ruth, as such. You know, want security, you want to be able to go to the doctor and go to the dentist, and you want to take vacation, you want nice clothes. I mean, not as such. Some people, men, especially women too, now, are driven by money. That's not been my goal, and I don't advise that as being a goal. You can't be a wimp. You want to achieve, and I look at my son as a CPA, advises people on taxes and investments, and that's terrific. But the key is inside yourself. That's about as far as I go at the moment.
That's nice. Okay. Well, that was lovely.
I thank you all for listening to my
Well, thank
life
you.
story.
That was great.
Quickly, this is the Reader's Digest instant life story, and I've been a happy camper. I'm happy to know all of you. I feel basically loved. At the party the other night, I asked each member of the party, not deeply, I wasn't the narrator or something, about their childhood and how they were treated by their parents. The only Jewish person there was Marvin. I wanted to know how a Methodist person treated their child, how this one treated some. And most of them, nearly all of them, had kind of not as a huggy relationship with their parents. And you know, Ruth sees, her children, her grandchildren especially, are hugging her. But the warm, and that's part of my life too, the warmness. I admire that warmth in Henry and Ben and you, Susan, and Beth, and then the grandchildren, Leah, Alyssa. That's a beautiful, wonderful, supportive thing, and I feel that way. I wake up and when I feel good, I talk to strange people in the street because I'm sharing myself, and it's something like Tennessee Williams' play, The Streetcar Named Desire, developing your happiness from strangers. But I don't mean it that way. I have a lovely wife and a beautiful family, but I do get a kick out of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lose that kid,
Mm-hmm.
and you're sad, you can't help it sometimes, emotionally or physically. If you can retain that value and are lucky enough from a health point of view, physical and emotional, that will give you strength to go forward, because the world's kind of tough.
Good. One more quickie question. Do you have a favorite book?
Well, unlike George Bush, where he said his favorite book was the Bible, I guess I should have thought through, Susan.
No, I'm just wondering.
Offhand, I'm not sure. I keep reading. This is interesting in a way, what I told you about my grandmother. I keep reading and rereading a book about the Russian time before the revolution, about the great writers, Chekhov and Tolstoy, and the great dancers, and the great opera, and the great composers. I read that book, I can't get tired of it, I just love it, and I do feel inside myself, and with a great warmth, the Russian feeling.
Okay.
I have some feeling.
Is that the
to-
Firebird?
The Firebird, yeah,
That's
the Firebird
interesting.
suite, Stravinsky. Deep in me, it must be from my bubby, Leah,
Huh.
is this feeling, I don't know. I
Interesting.
just, that probably is certainly the book I've read most, or spent most time with.
How about a favorite poem?